Hello and welcome back to the Hyperspace Podcast. My name is Sam and I'm joined by Michael Ghosh. Michael, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm back here as always.
Yeah, of course, and we love it. You're the person we're here to see, the star of the show.
Co-star, co-star.
Exactly. I appreciate spreading the love. But yeah, this week we're going to be talking about the Mandalorian season 3. We're going to be giving some speculation about what's going to happen, how it might link into the sequels, and going back on season 2, giving a few of our thoughts. But first of all, I want to start with a thank you. Just thanks for your support on the recent podcast. Me and Michael really appreciate it. And just a reminder to keep up to date with all we are doing, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn post notifications on. Right, I've got that out of the way now. Let's move on to, well, let's start Mandalorian season 2. Michael, what were your thoughts on the season as a whole? And what an ending.
Wow, it was again. I've had the opportunity to watch the season two three times through. I watched it once on my own and a couple of times with my family, and yeah, what a season! Like I wasn't sure how they were going to pick it up after season one, but they blew up my expectations. The cameos, the picked up storylines, the ending, the slightly dodgy Luke Skywalker, slightly dodgy looking, but still amazing to see him.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. I mean, that that cameo at the end. I mean, everyone had been speculating through the series, like
I
who it's going to be.
I was thinking it was just going to be Ahsoka the entire time. I was like, we know Ahsoka's going to be in it. I thought it would just be Ahsoka, and that's who's going to take Baby Yoda. I didn't see it coming from the beginning. I thought it'd be after Ahsoka left Grogu. I thought it must be Ezra coming next. Uh,
Yeah, I had a sneaky feeling it was going to be Cal Kestis. I think I said, I
yeah,
think I said to a few of my friends, I was like, it could be Luke, but there's no way they're going to do
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. And the thing is with Cal Kestis as well is his actor looks exactly like him. So
Exactly.
easy casting choice, easy casting choice, and he'd be up for doing it, I'd imagine as well.
Yeah. Well, the thing with season 2, it was such a good season. But how do they then follow up season 3? I mean, with Luke Skywalker finishing it, I mean that is like the pinnacle, like
Mm.
pinnacle of Star Wars, like an incredible moment. Where do they go now for season 3?
I think that's going to be a big thing for them to try and see how they can follow it up, especially as a lot of the character arcs and narrative plot lines have been filled that were there since season one. So we had Dinger in. We weren't sure why he's this sort of weird, weird Mandalorian because us who've watched the Clone Wars, like he doesn't take his helmet off. They take the helmet off in pretty much every scene in any
Yeah.
of the Mandalorian arcs. And now we know there's a lot of mysteries that were filled, but now I think we also have more questions. Like what's going to happen to Grogu?
Yeah.
What's going to happen with the dark saber? Many more questions. Are we going to see Luke again? How are the new TV shows going to fit into this Star Wars MCU TV crossover universe they're starting to build around the Mandalorian?
Yeah, and they finished season 2 with Grogu and Luke, or Grogu being taken away to with Luke to build the Jedi school. Do you think that in this season, because surely they can't get rid of a character like Grogu? I mean, not only is he a fan favorite, but the merchandise he sells is unbelievable.
I'm glad I was gonna say that I don't know what they're gonna do with the merchandising now with the Mandalorian. Like the Mando, if you try and look at the merchandising, all of it's for baby
It
baby Yoda. Not
literally is.
no one cares about Din Djarin. I don't know what Disney will do in that regard and how they will sort of give depth to Din Djarin because he a lot of the character depth we saw in both season one and season two was provided through Grogu being there and the way he treated Grogu. So it's hard to tell how they're going to try and pick up that side of the character and how they're going to try and continue to evolve Din Djarin from sort of being this very strict, following this code of not taking a helmet off to taking it off, for Grogu. And we don't know how they're going to try to evolve this character.
Yeah, no, completely. But I have a feeling in this. I'm not sure whether we'll see necessarily more of Luke, but I think we must. I think we will see more of Grogu. I don't think they can get rid of him, like this a character this important to the plot of the first two seasons, and trying to like how they would do it. Maybe they would. Mandalorian might go to the early days of Luke's Jedi Temple. Maybe we could see like some early bits of that, and seeing maybe him recruiting has recruited a few more Jedi. Maybe we could even see a bit of Ben Solo. That'd be really cool.
I think what's it when he might be training Leia at this point as well.
Yeah.
Again, obviously we've lost Carrie Fisher, so I doubt they'll try and put her into the show. But obviously that plot line was shown in, was it the Rise of Skywalker, right? Her being trained up as a Jedi. So I want I wonder how they're going to fit it into the timelines, and whether Luke has actually started this Jedi Temple, or whether Grogu is the first sort of recruit for the sort of Jedi order he's trying to set up.
Yeah, completely. If they were to include Leia, I don't think it's likely because of course, the sad passing of Carrie Fisher. But if they were to do it, what they did for those scenes of Leia fighting in The Rise of Skywalker was they basically got her daughter to do those scenes, but then CGI'd her Carrie's face onto Leia. Is that something that is that something do you think they'll do? I mean, surely it's quite unlikely.
Um, I don't. I wonder if they'll want to do it again. Um, we sort of understand how Disney have thought about the sequels and the legacy of it, and they may not want sort of Leia's like next appearance. They I think they wanted The Rise of Skywalker to be her last appearance in something.
Yeah.
After passing. So I doubt it, but I'd be interested to see if they would use Carrie Fisher's daughter and put her in again. They'd have to use, I'd imagine, voice lines from other films and projects she's been on to try and fit it in. And at that point, is it really worth trying to fit her in? It's I think it's one thing to do it for action sequences with very little dialogue or no dialogue, but to try and do something with dialogue makes it a lot harder.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm thinking of the most likely what they're going to do. Like looking back at season 2 of The Mandalorian, they have had this the introduction of Bo-Katan the first time since the Clone Wars and the Night Owls, and they were talking about how they were on a mission to reclaim Mandalore. It's probably most likely that this series will focus around that. Surely going back to Mandalore, I mean, Din Djarin has the dark saber now, so whether Bo-Katan will then use the Mandalorian to go and re-spark some like hope to try and use the dark saber to recruit some people for the cause, and they just go around the galaxy trying to prepare to retake Mandalore.
Yeah, I think this the Mandalorian plotline about the dark saber and Mandalore as a whole as the planet, I think that is the direction it'll be going on based on what we saw at the end of season 2, which is Din Djarin kind of earning the dark saber.
Yeah.
Do you think how do you think Bo-Katan's gonna deal with Din Djarin now though? Do you have any thoughts of what she's gonna do?
I think there will be a time where they do fight for the dark saber. I think it's almost inevitable. Thinking of how they end up, I think that Bo-Katan will. I think the Din Djarin will end up staying with Bo-Katan to go to Mandalore, but despite having the darksaber, I think Bo-Katan will take more of the role of the leader, kind of using Din Djarin to kind of inspire hope, like where he maybe Din thinks he's the leader, but really Bo-Katan's doing something to kind of rally for her cause. But I think that might boil over at some point, and I think a fight for the darksaber is probably likely to happen.
Maybe. We saw how Din Djarin tried to give up the dark saber, but Bo-Katan just would not take it, and
Yeah,
it's again strange. After Rebels, she did just take it from Sabine Wren.
yeah,
Like Sabine Wren just handed it to her. So I wonder why she's so determined to have to win it, especially as Din Djarin's not interested in being involved in Mandalore. At least that's what we saw from his reaction of having the dark saber. He just didn't want it.
yeah,
Um, Again, you're probably right. I think maybe Din Djarin will try and he'll have the leadership thrust upon him as a result of the situation, but Bo-Katan will have the feeling that he doesn't want it and therefore he's not worthy for the position and will either things will start boiling over or she'll just challenge him outright towards the
yeah,
beginning of the show maybe.
yeah,
Um, it's hard to say who would win though in a fight.
yeah. That is an interesting question. I think maybe Din, but Bo-Katan, to be fair, is a complete badass. Like she's mental.
The thing is, the difference between them is experience. I think
Yeah,
Din Djarin didn't live during the Clone Wars and didn't have to deal with all of
yeah,
that, so it's hard to say. Again, Bo-Katan has fought the clones as well and has fought the Mandalorians himself, whereas Din Djarin hasn't been. I don't think he's been. The only tough opposition he's really faced are the Dark Troopers and Moff Gideon.
yeah,
And even Moff Gideon is not a frontline soldier. He's an officer. He's not really meant to. I was surprised how hard of a fight he put up.
yeah. No,
It
really
was good
well.
stunt work actually at the end of season two. And I
Yeah,
think again we haven't talked about Moff Gideon, but I see him reoccurring as a sort of bad guy again. I think I saw somewhere in an interview he has sort of leaked the fact that he will be in season three, which we all know they're gonna have to deal with Moff Gideon, so he'll be in season three. How do you feel about like Moff Gideon? Do you think that's a possible plot line?
yeah. I think he's such an excellent character. Like he was such a good villain for those series, and I'm not sure. I think he will definitely appear in this. I think that he might. I don't know why. I feel like he might appear more in the range of the New Republic, because of they want. He knows all this information. He's one of those characters that just because he was one of those people that was around all the lead officers. He knows all this information, and the New Republic are going to want to get that out of him. So I thought that he would appear more in maybe Range of the New Republic, but I definitely think he'll probably be in a couple of episodes in the Mandalorian. I
Yeah,
think definitely.
I think that's an important thing. As I think I mentioned earlier, is that a lot of the interaction between the shows is going to be the driving force for the narrative of, I guess, this sort of Star Wars universe type, like the original trilogy going into the sequel trilogy. This sort of I called it the Star Wars MCU for TV shows, right? I think a lot of the shows are going to feed into each other, like Ahsoka and the new Rangers of the New Republic and the Mandalorian season three and the Book of Boba Fett are all going to end up feeding into each other. So maybe you're right. I think maybe that seems very plausible that he would go from the Mandalorian season three into Rangers of the New Republic or even possibly into Ahsoka. Maybe he knows where uh, Grand Admiral Thrawn is, and maybe
Yeah,
that's how he has a cruiser in the first place.
yeah. I have a feeling that all these shows, I don't think it's a coincidence that all these shows are around the same time period. I think they are setting up a end game, massive crossover event fight. I think that could be inevitable with Thrawn, the big bad guy, and I can see all of these shows coming together to link in to go up against this big threat of Thrawn and I don't know some other Imperial navy because I don't know. I just can't. It can't be a coincidence that all these shows are around, or that a lot of these shows are around the same time. I think that's what it's leading to.
I feel like Grand Admiral Thrawn was set up in a similar way to Thanos, kind of.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna. I'd like to think he's gonna crop up. He's cropped up as a mention. I like to think we're gonna have his sort of Guardians of the Galaxy appearance where he's gonna be in one scene at the end of a show, where, like assembling an army or assembling a fleet, I guess for him. Maybe in the unknown regions, which would again make a lot of sense because the sequel era has sort of started talking about the unknown regions, although that was I call it a plot get out.
yeah,
You know, they didn't know that it's a hidden region. Oh, we don't know what's going on in there. But I wonder if something like that will happen, and then we'll sort of Ahsoka may like track him down, but we don't see a conclusion of Thrawn and Ahsoka, and it feeds into this sort of what you said, an end game level of events or TV show.
yeah,
Um, I don't. I think if that was to happen, I wonder if they'll carry it out on one show, one of the existing shows, or if they'll make a special show to have this like
yeah.
crossover event, or how they want to do it. But I'm certainly interested to see Grand Admiral Thrawn when he inevitably will arrive.
Yeah, because he will he'll definitely have
Yeah,
a big appearance, and there'll probably be a big fight containing him. Do you? So it's surely likely that the Mandalorian season three is going to include a time jump, especially if it's going to link to the sequels. And also, you kind of need Grogu to age because it takes ages for Grogu to actually like age and mature if he's going to be if he's going to show any signs of development. Do you think there's going to be a time jump just so it can help link to the sequels and maybe a crossover event?
I wonder with the sort of time jump. We know that the current sort of timeline of releases, we have the Book of Boba Fett, and I wonder if that's going to fit in between season 2 and 3, and then there'll be. I'm not sure there'll be a significant time jump. You know, I don't think it'll be 10, 15 years, but maybe 1 or 2 years. I see them jumping ahead. But again, we've got to then consider how are they fitting in these other shows? How do these fit into the timelines? I see them doing some sort of time jump, but I'm not sure how big this will be. I think it will certainly be enough time that we'll see when we go back and see Grief Karga, who I hope will be in the show
Yeah,
again because he was an excellent character, and I think that sort of idea that even after the Empire loses, the Outer Rim sort of doesn't just fall into Republic hands. It sort of switches hands between the Empire, like the Imperial Remnant, and sort of just local warlords and bounty hunter guilds. So
yeah,
we have to see how they want to fit in, you know, Rangers of the New Republic, which I think maybe we'll have Grief Karga or that sort of plot line about the New Republic expanding its influence into the outer rim. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if whether they want to do a time jump. I think it's very likely there will be at least a small amount of time that will be between season 2 and 3, unlike season 2, where it sort of picked up from season 1.
yeah,
There was a bit of a gap, but not. Obviously there's a bit of a gap between each season, but there isn't a huge gap that's noticeable. I think they'll do a gap where stuff happens inside the gap, based on what we know. I don't know. Do you think there'll be a time gap then between 2 and 3?
Yeah, I think they're going to have to inevitably do a bit of a time jump just to. We don't really know where all these shows are set necessarily, but I think to kind of link them all to set them up better for a crossover event and to get closer to the sequels. I think I think it's definitely there's definitely a big chance for that. Talking about the sequels, there's a question that Star Wars fans have had on their mind since the end of season two. Luke Skywalker took Grogu away. Did Grogu get killed by Kylo and the Knights of Ren?
I wonder if Anakin sent him another text.
Well,
Don't come to the Jedi Temple today,
yeah,
Grogu.
yeah,
I don't know. Again, let's not talk canon. Let's talk Disney. Disney, and it's bad for their merchandising. I'm surprised. I'm amazed they destroyed the Razor Crest again. Bad for merchandising, but maybe good for merchandising. Maybe they'll try and hike up Slave One sales now. We'll have to see. Again, I don't think they'll want to kill Grogu because of the fan base reception. It's
mm,
um, there's a lot of other mediums where they've had the either one or several characters who are fan favorites killed off, and people have been furious, especially if
yeah,
it's more than like Endgame. I think was quite traumatic for a lot of people, but a lot of the characters people knew were just going to come back because money, basically, and also
yeah,
especially with like Spider-Man, people knew about
yeah.
Homecoming, not Homecoming,
Far from home.
Far From Home
Yeah,
before the Endgame. Endgame had come out. But yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens with it. I'd like to see the Grogu back in just in the show, even for just a couple of episodes. Grief Karga delivered one of my favorite lines. Do the magic hand thing. one of the favorite. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't see them killing him off. Again, how and why he's going to leave Luke's company is going to be a big question. I think you mentioned Cal Kestis. We have Ezra. We have Ahsoka.
yeah,
I wonder if Ahsoka and Ezra and maybe even Cal Kestis are going to set up I'm going to call it an alternate Jedi temple after the Jedi temple is destroyed. Whether Luke is not aware of this, because Dave Filoni, after was it the Rise of Skywalker, said that Ahsoka's not dead when everyone questioned
yeah.
how all these dead Jedi were talking to Rey, and I don't think we heard Ezra or Cal
No,
Kestis for that matter. So I'd like to assume they're still alive, and based on the fact that at least Ezra has had rumors of being cast, and it's going to be probably pivotal to the Grand Admiral Thrawn plot line. I think it'd be interesting to see if that's how they try and sort of save Grogu. If Ahsoka's if Ahsoka suddenly changes and willing to like run a Jedi Order, or if Ezra decides he wants to do that.
yeah,
Again, as far as he's concerned, him and Ahsoka are the last Jedi because he doesn't know about the Jedi beyond that, and Obi-Wan. He knew about Obi-Wan, but I assume they would have known when he gets killed by Darth
yeah.
Vader, quote unquote killed by Darth Vader. We'll have to see what they do with it though. Do you think they're bold enough to kill Grogu?
Um, I I don't think it would make sense personally. I think that at the end of season two, you have this amazing scene where Luke's walking like to leave, and then you just see Grogu looking behind. He's finally going to fulfill his purpose. This is an incredible. It's a scene of real emotion, and then they can't just go from that to you're dead. Like you can't go from that to Kylo killing or one of the Knights of Rain killing him because he's a character so big with the fan base now. Merchandise we've bought many times. Um, I just can't. I just don't think it would be a very nice story arc. To be honest, I don't think it
Hmm.
would make much sense as a art just to see him fulfill his purpose, then just kill him off. I mean, that's quite brutal. He's a kid. Like
Yeah.
it'd be. I just can't see them doing it. As I don't think it makes much sense.
No, I don't think it makes sense for them to do it either. But again, it's one of those things. As far as we know, he's on the Jedi Temple, and is killed. As far as we understand from what we've seen of season two, that is the case. But I highly doubt they're bold enough to kill, a fan favorite character they've basically made out of thin air.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally. I think this theory might excite you a bit because the working title for season 3 of The Mandalorian is Buccaneer, which is also a word for pirates. So, is this the Hondo appearance you wanted? Is this going to be the moment where they bring Hondo back?
Well, I think we've talked about Hondo in a couple of. I'm sure we talked about him last
Every
episode.
podcast.
Every podcast, I think we mentioned Hondo and Lando, that being the dream team show. I'm just waiting to happen. But yeah, Hondo, that would be something, wouldn't it? If they bring Hondo into the show, and if they decide to have him, I think again he's a character with potential, and he hasn't got a set path he has to follow into the sequel trilogy, unlike maybe even Lando, although Lando is a loose loose way into the sequel era. So yeah, I think that'd be really interesting. I forget what the clone is called, but there's that clone who becomes a pirate, and that's canon, who gets put in stasis. I forget what his name is though. You know who I mean.
Yeah, I know, and I'm kicking myself that I don't remember his name. Yeah,
but yeah, if if that happens, that'd be interesting if they bring him in. Oh my days, Hondo, just a good character and so much potential, and he's relevant to the what you call it. He's relevant to the Disney Star Wars theme park, because he's in that. So he's probably a character they want to put in the limelight a bit, which I think this would be interesting. Again, who would play him? Let's be honest, probably Johnny Depp. That's who I think would fit him. But he has to be someone who has a similar face shape. I know that makeup does so much, and it also has to be someone who can play that sort of character, a bit of a scumbag, but you like him. He's a lovable scumbag.
Yeah.
Again, those sort of roles, we talked about Lando and Solos, Hondo in this case. They're hard roles to cast well because you need someone likable, like really likable, not just someone you get behind, but someone you enjoy seeing. You know what I mean? You need someone with charisma, and that's something hard to find. The character I wonder if he'll be returning as well is Cobb Vanth. Because I think he could fit in somewhere. If we're going with this sort of Buccaneer sort of idea, I think he'd be a character who'd fit into that. And we've already sort of got Grief Karga, who's sort of like towing the line of the law and knots. And since Cara Dune's there, there's probably no one to keep him in check.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that Cara Dune's not there for this case, but yeah, I think Hondo, that'd be amazing. I think he'd be a fascinating character, and again, there's so much potential with that character to do stuff with him because he was a bit more of a villain in the Clone Wars, but even then he wasn't really, and especially towards the end he sort of gets on with the Jedi. So in Rebels he's in there, and he's a pirate, but he's not. It's just he's an interesting character I want to see more from. I think Buccaneer sounds good, although unless this is something, I don't know how that's going to fit in with the Mandalore plot. Whether or not maybe the Mandalore plot isn't going to be as large as we think it's going to be.
Yeah,
if that was the case.
I have a feeling that the term buccaneer and like referring to pirates, uh, as much as I'd love it to be Hondo, I think it might just be referring to the Bo-Katan and the Night Owls, because in, I think it's episode 3 of season 2, when they're going to try and capture that ship,
Yeah,
what they're referred to are, they call them pirates. So it might be that the
yeah.
story is going, they're basically going around the galaxy trying to get resources and trying to get different help to regain Mandalore, and that's why it's
If
the title is
I,
Buccaneer.
I think it was to follow this sort of what you were saying is they're trying to gather resources to set up
Hmm.
manslaughter. The person you probably want is a smuggler, and in which case I see how Hondo could fit into this. Again, he's not going to be. It's unfortunate he's not going to be a season-long travel companion as I would want him to be. But the possibility of him being in one episode as sort of an arms dealer,
Yeah,
very possible because I believe he's done arms dealing before. I mean, he deals with anything. He'll deal with anything if it makes him money, right? It's all about profit at the end of the day. It's about
exactly.
whether a venture is profitable or not for him. So I think especially as we talked about last episode, the sequel era started going well. Okay, the Last Jedi went into this sort of good, bad, sort of
Hmm.
grey area, and the Mandalorian sort of promises that it will go and explore these sort of grey areas in the universe that are sort of not good or bad. They're just sort of how life is.
Yeah,
So I think Hondo would fit the theme, especially as the Mandalorian is sort of a western,
it
if that
is.
makes
Yeah.
sense. It's very much inspired by a lot of very good western films, which are
Hmm.
just rip-offs of samurai movies. But I think Hondo is a sort of character who'd fit into this sort of western smuggler, world. Again, this is just me. Again, a big Hondo fan, so I'm
Yeah.
a bit biased. But again, there's a lot of characters who have potential to come back, or at least we saw bits of the underworld, the Coruscant underworld in Clone Wars. That would be something that maybe they want to explore because they need to get these arms dealers in for providing weapons. I don't know. How do you think Hondo would appear, or is this just wish fulfillment?
I think this could be wishful thinking. I think
Mm.
the fact that the working title is pirates does give you a little, it does give you that glimmer of
Yeah.
hope that maybe an appearance is likely, but I don't think that Hondo will be appearing. Though if he does, it'll be a brilliant surprise to me and you. The last the last theory, or not necessarily theory, but the last thing I'd like to say on this is at the end of season 2, one of the very, very long shot Jedi rumors that was going to be the Luke Skywalker cameo was Mace Windu. Now, Mace Windu has said numerous times he'd be happy to come back to Star Wars, and I'm pretty sure he's alive. Now, this is never going to happen, but could there be a possibility that Mace Windu rocks up in one of these shows?
I think didn't Samuel L. Jackson's talked in interviews about how even George Lucas talked about the possibility. He's a jet. He's like he's the second baddest Jedi in the universe, and he's
Yeah,
just chucked up. He gets offed on a roof. I think definitely there's 100% potential that Mace Windu survive, but again, we gotta look at not just does it make sense in the universe, does it make sense in the universe that's being created? He doesn't show up in Rebels, he doesn't show up in any other media as having survived. So I wonder if they can just suddenly just pop him into the show, whether whether this would be a bit too much, like you said, pure wishful thinking and wish fulfillment if they were to put him in. Again, I think all the fans want to see Samuel Jackson back as
of
Mace
course. Yeah.
Windu doing something. But again, I see the only way they could do it is by erasing the sequel trilogy to erase a lot of contradictions, I mean, there's already 3 Jedi running around who are, you know, we imagine have survived. Imagine if you throw in Mace Windu as well, a powerful Jedi.
Yeah,
Someone would have sensed Mace Windu was there, unless they can come up with a reasonable in-universe reason why the presence of, I guess, Ahsoka, who's a very powerful Jedi in her own right, Ezra, who's a pretty powerful Jedi as well, and Cal Kestis, who's we don't know how powerful he is, but he's we know he's again another person who's survived the Clone Wars, so I guess a more powerful Jedi than Ezra maybe potentially because he had proper training. It just doesn't make sense that somehow we wouldn't know about Windu already. And while
yeah,
I'd like to see him in it, there's already a lot of contradictions with Rey being the last of the Jedi or Luke being the last Jedi,
yeah. No,
as he's not already. We already knew he wasn't anyway, because we saw the end of Rebels and we're like, well, she doesn't suddenly, we're talking about Ahsoka. We know Ahsoka doesn't suddenly die, and we can imagine Ezra survives in the like the outer rim or further beyond that, with Grand Admiral Thrawn, and we know that Grand Admiral Thrawn's alive, which means Ezra's around. So we'd imagine that's how it's going to work.
yeah,
Yes, I want it. I want it so bad, but I think Hondo is the most likely of the two
yeah.
to make an
No,
appearance, and he's the one that makes sense. And admittedly, I maybe a bit biased because I probably want to see him more as well. Even though I love Mace Windu, I don't. Again, it's just how does he fit into that
yeah,
at all?
completely.
Is the question. They'd have to try and again. There's a certain point, even if they do fit him in, it just won't feel right. It'll make at least the sequel era not fit into it. And if they're going to build towards this, the only way I see them being able to do loads of characters like Mace Windu coming back is by setting this in an alternate reality to the sequel era, or vice versa, the sequel era being in the world beyond. I mean, that's a fan
Yeah,
theory that circled a little bit more recently, saying Dave Filoni's already done it, but I don't see them doing that. I think Mace Windu is pure fan fulfillment. I mean, do you see any way they could include him that would make sense in the current Star Wars existing timeline?
I not really, to be honest. I think it's pure just wishful thinking. I mean, there's always been that tension between Mace Windu and Ahsoka, because they've always had. I don't
Yeah.
know. There's always had a thing where he just doesn't like her for some reason. Even when she was Anakin's Padawan, there's always this sense that he just doesn't like her, and then that especially amplifies when she leaves the Jedi Order, and then he calls her citizen when she's
Oh,
actually the most like salty comment ever. Just like
I was
citizen.
thinking when I watched the episode, I think it was called Jedi, when Ahsoka's in it. I was like, you mean citizen?
Yeah, no, that was
um,
so funny. If they,
it was so good. Again, their dynamic doesn't work either. So
yeah,
I'm not sure he's even a. I mean, again, they could have him with Ezra or someone else, but I don't see how they could fit him in, and I don't think he doesn't like Ahsoka, like you said. I hadn't even considered that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it would be an interesting one. But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap up our discussion for today. What do you think about? Do you have any theories for Mandalorian series 3? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe. A big thank you for Michael for joining me.
Thank you for hosting me again, as always.
No worries. And yeah, we will see you in the next episode. And may the force be with you.